What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Riders. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, joined as always by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Pretty good, Josh. How's it going with you?
Not great. I'm sick today. I'm pretty sure I have a fever right now. I should probably be asleep, but I'm here with you to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard, episode 50.
Do you feel like you're dying since the show's over? Is this an unintended side effect of the last episode popping off?
It might be.
Like chemies are free and now you have a cold of epic proportions?
It's either that the show ended or that I caught like a daycare crud from my daughter like I always do. And now...
Goddamn kids. They're everywhere.
Yeah, they are. It's one of those things where like your kid gets sick and then you sort of like see your fate in advance, right? Like you see what they go through, and then you're like, well, that's gonna be me in a couple days, and then lo and behold, here we are. So I guess fair warning to everyone. Head feels a little weird.
This episode's gonna fucking suck.
No, it's probably just gonna be crazy because like I feel like my brain's not working today, and you might also hear me coughing some, but it's gonna be unhinged is my prediction today. More unhinged than normal, maybe.
Well, Josh, I'll give you a little easy open here.
Okay, hit me with a nice softball.
I'm gonna just ramble for a little bit about a story, and then you ask questions when you want to.
Don't pull back the curtain too much about how we do things around here.
So, this is prefaced by a different conversation I was having earlier with somebody else. But did you ever do an escape room?
Yeah.
Did you win the escape room?
Yeah, I've only done one ever in my life, and we did win. We made it out.
What kind of group did you have for this debacle?
So this was just me and my wife doing this one.
But so was it built for a small group, or are you two just like smart brain forced the big party one?
Well, there wasn't anything that like required multiple people. Like there was never anything where it's like one person had to be pressing a button while another person like turned a knob or anything like that. There was no scenario like that. There was like, I'm trying to remember now what some of the puzzles were. There was a couple things where it's like it was helpful to have 2+ people, but there was nothing that like absolutely required a large number. Okay, I think the room we picked, I think that was maybe what it was rated for or something. There might have been rooms that were for like bigger people. I don't really remember exactly.
Yeah, so like that's more of what I was asking. Or like, because I know there's the places that have multiple rooms usually like scale and spec for the amount of people you have. Like if it's made for like 2 to 4 people, there's not as many hardcore clues to find everywhere to do so.
I do know that we did the like one of the easier rooms too. I can maybe like look it up while you're talking here, and I can tell you more about it. It's been a while since we've done it.
So I did it once with my group of friends. And this story is about how I cheated to escape the escape room.
Perfect. Okay.
So I'm going to preface all this. I haven't done a good example for a while. The downfall with escape rooms, and even if I got like played kidnapped and like locked in an actual saw room of like, hey, you're going to chop your foot off. Once I know I can't actually be stuck there, the illusion is broken for me. like escape rooms are never scary because like effectively like I'm getting out in an hour. And like there was the movie The Game starring Michael Douglas, I believe. That was basically his family signed him up for quote unquote the game when he was for his one birthday, and his whole life got fucked up. And at the end, they're like, "No, it's just the game, ha ha ha." But and he didn't know about it. But I feel like for any good escape room now, you'd have to know about it. And as soon as I would know I'm going to an escape room, I wouldn't be scared because I would know that was fake. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, like escape rooms aren't really intended to be scary.
There's stories to all of them, Josh. Josh, the one I went to, Dr. blah, 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 whatever his name was coming back in an hour to kill us all unless we got out of his fucking lab. Like,
well, okay, that's fair. The one we did was, I think, Titanic based. So, like, I guess there was some element of like.
So, did you two do the pose on the boat?
No. It was much more like you're in a room in the Titanic. There was no like you're on the dock, if I remember correctly. Like there was like a plumbing challenge at
Ew.
some point in it.
All right, so so anyway, so we did. It was like brand new around here. So the downfall of this was it was. I think it was my birthday. If it wasn't my birthday, it was someone close to my birthday. We did. It was either 8 or 10 people in an escape room, and the first problem was I've vaguely told you stories over the years. My friend group is freaking nuts, especially when everyone starts drinking. There's
Yeah.
like it just turns into bedlam. I guess that's what alcohol really does to people.
I couldn't imagine your friend group in an escape room trying to
Right.
work together from
Neither.
what I've
Right.
heard.
And
Yeah.
neither can I. So like my problem with when we got in, so like they fake quote like chain you all together. You would walk in a dark room. They turn the lights on. It was like again Dr. Blah blah blah's lab, and there's like so many things in this room where like you're supposed to split. Like the process is like okay, you guys if you guys look at the book, we'll do the thing on the wall. We'll do this.
Yeah.
But like I found out quickly that the downfall of having a lot of loud friends and B just a lot of friends doing one of these in general, like there's no guidance and there's no captain. So everyone's just doing their own thing and not communicating and getting like locked in the holes. And especially again, like everyone was drinking first. So everyone's just like doing their own thing, like searching for stuff. Some people are yelling, some people aren't. But it was basically just bedlam. And one of the things was you got up to 3 clues and you basically just yelled at the kid that was running it, who was outside the room. And he would type on this little TV screen, like, why don't you look over here? And so as part of this, like to this is the scale of like how goofy we all are. Or just I mean, obviously everyone's having fun. It wasn't that big of a deal. So like there was a rubber hand and there was something on the wall that you were supposed to put the hand onto and it would like trigger a magnet to make like a laser go off or something. So I was screwing around and I was like, yeah, high five. I just slapped it on the wall and then we went to screw around more. So like when the guy at the end, eventually at the end, before I say how I cheated, but when the guy came at the end, he was like, do you guys want to see the things you missed? And we were like, sure. And he's like, so you're playing with the hand. And he's like, if you just would have held it against the wall. And he's like, look. And like the light goes on. There's a key, a password, whatever. And we're like, oh.
See, you put it there. You just didn't hold it there quite long enough. That's pretty bogus.
Yeah, so like it wasn't like an on-off switch. It was just more like when the two magnets are touching, the laser goes on kind of thing.
Okay.
So that one, like, again, if we weren't all screwing around, if there wasn't 10 people screaming in a tiny room, hey, maybe we wouldn't have noticed, but who knows? So we're going through all this, and we get to the point where, like, we were probably, like, 80% done, 85% done, but we were running out of time. And we knew that we weren't going to finish, but everyone's trying to hustle last minute and, like, get shit done and everything else. So we're going through all this stuff, and I don't know how to explain like the suitcase itself, but when I was growing up, I had this like little tiny little kid suitcase that's probably like a foot by a foot, and it's very cheap. Where the clasps are like the two things you close down to close your little suitcase travel briefcase thing. So they had 2 bike locks, one through each loop. Where like there was slack to it, but it was like you need to figure out the codes for the bike locks to open the locks, to open the clasps, to look inside the suitcase to get the code to get out the door. So again, the preface of this dumb room was Dr. So-and-so is coming back. He's going to kill you if you're still here in an hour, blah, blah, blah. So with like 30 seconds left, me and my friend who usually enables most of me doing the stupid things I've ever told you I've done, like he's there with me looking at the suitcase and we start just pulling on it. And we realize like, hey, it's loose enough that we can pull it open to the extent of where the bike locks are and you can look inside the briefcase still. So like we were sitting next to the door we had to get out of. And like him and I, like, I guess we weren't as loud as the rest of them. So the host kid wasn't watching us from the other room. So we were on the floor, we pull open, we're like, oh shit, here's the code. So him and I run to the door and put it in real quick. Him and I yell, we did it. Everyone else in the room screams and we all rush out. And the kid's like laughing in the hallway, but he's like, come on, you guys didn't win. He's like, you cheated. And I said, the deal was to get out of the room within the hour.
By any means, there's like some man coming to kill you. You're not going to stick around.
So I was like, we escaped within the hour. I'm calling this a victory. And he was laughing. And he was like, fine, whatever, but you cheated. And I was like, I don't care, still won. So then we all celebrated afterwards our great victory in the escape room that we basically just brute forced a puzzle open until we could get out.
I feel like, in that particular theme, especially where it's like a man is coming to kill you, you would like if that was happening in real life, you would be like bashing a suitcase against the wall, like you'd be doing anything, right? You wouldn't be like, "Oh well, it's locked. I'm not gonna get it open. I guess I'm just gonna wait to die." No, you'd be like, you'd be smashing things. You'd be doing
Yeah.
everything. I feel like it counts. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that counts.
And obviously we didn't break anything. Like he said like, yes, it's loose, whatever. And it was funny because he said by the time I realized what you two were doing on the floor, he was like, I started walking to the door to stop you. And you guys were just a little bit too quick and got to the door and opened it before I could stop you. I was like,
Amazing.
yeah, I don't care.
We had a similar thing with ours. So ours was Titanic themed, and they had a lot of like vintage stuff in there. And like the guy even like kind of made a point to tell us at the beginning, like, oh, like a lot of this stuff is old, so like be careful or whatever. So I had a real like every step of the way where you have to like pick something up and interact with it. I had a real like, should I be touching this? Is this just a decoration or is this part of it? So like even when I had the right solution, like there were a couple times where I was like kind of like too ginger with it to like I wasn't like moving the lever hard enough or whatever. At one point there's like records in the room, and I'm like, are we intended to like take these out and look at them, or am I like breaking things? So I definitely thought that the whole way through. Like it was definitely in my head about it. And then there was one puzzle, kind of in a similar vein, where like we figured out the solution, and it was like using a magnet on the side of this mirror, which was supposed to like trip a lock that then opened the mirror. Okay, so we did it. We found the magnet. We knew we had to put it alongside the mirror, and it just like wasn't working. so so finally the guy had to be like, yeah, you guys have it right. It just needs to be like up a little bit. So then finally I was like, oh, okay, here it is. So that was a little it was a little breaking of the of the realism for us there. But we so our like last thing was like I said, it was plumbing in our Titanic one, and you had to like it was very easy as far as like a big last puzzle goes, because you essentially just had to like connect pipes that would have made water flow successfully. So it was like playing Pipe Dreams on the
I was just
computer.
gonna say if you didn't have that reference, I was gonna hit you with it.
Yeah, it was 100% Pipe Dreams, but you had to like lay on the floor to connect the pipes. And we definitely like, I looked at my wife, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to lay on the floor, and made her do it. I was like, that's not worth it to me. So she did the floor laying. But I looked it up, and it's 2 to 7 people for the one we did. So we were on the low end of the people count, and it says more than 80% of people escape from that one. So we definitely did the easy one.
That still seems crazy though, like with the amount of people, space, whatever you want to call it. It just seems weird that you can you can finish it with 2 people or up to
Yeah.
7. Like
Yeah, totally.
I feel like that's the scope there should be smaller depending on like 2 to 4 seems like a group, and then like 5 plus seems like a group.
Yeah, it's a big range. The hard one I'm looking at, it says 5% of people escape is 4 to 12 people. I feel like though, like
12's too many,
adding,
man. 12's too many.
that's what I was gonna say. Like adding that many people in an escape room probably makes it way harder. Like if you have 2 to 4 people, you can coordinate and you can like you said, like someone can be the boss. You can assign out tasks and stuff. If there are 12 people in a room, it's just gonna be chaos. Like I don't care how calm you all are and how organized you are. 12 people is just gonna be chaos.
So we're either 8 or 10. And even with people mellowing out. So like my thing is, so like we'll do a quick plug. So on patreon.com/the Comment Riders, we have a Discord that you can sign up for with a bunch of fun videos with us. Mostly this is about the Discord you get for only $3 a month on patreon.com/the Comment Riders. But so every Wednesday, I more than likely than not, I'm going to play bar trivia somewhere. And I would say I'm probably the smartest of my friend group, but they all recognize I'm the smartest of my friend group. So
They
before we
better
did
recognize.
so before we did the escape room, there was like a real slight unspoken to spoken vibe of like, well, if shit gets squirrely, Toby's just going to figure it out for us. So I feel like that's extra pressure in general. But
That
again,
is.
like when there's too many people, it doesn't matter because, like, granted, I couldn't have done everything at once, and there's stuff other people got that I wasn't paying attention to and whatever. But like, there's just a certain level where there's literally too many people to even try to like communicate. Even if everyone was calm, sober, sitting in like a peace circle, talking to each other, I feel like it'd still be hard to have 10 people communicate properly
Yeah,
in what is like a quote unquote high stress situation, or at least like an
totally.
upper tense situation. So
Totally.
like I think I could have did better with me and 3 other people, and we probably could have beat it. Versus like me and 7 other people, because then there's too many people.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even with two of us, like there were definitely things where like with two, I know what she's trying and I know what I'm trying. So we're not like overlapping on things, right? Like and if there's more of us, like I could totally see like, no, I've already tried that. Stop doing that, like and then there were a couple things too where it's like I'd figure something out or she would figure something out and I would like we'd need to explain it to the other person because then it was like a step that was necessary for the next thing. So
Yeah,
like can you imagine with like 10 people, 7 people, whatever? It's like, wait, what did that person over there do? Like what's going on? Uh yeah, it'd be bedlam. Bedlam.
definitely.
But yeah, escape rooms are fun. I went to a comic convention recently and they were doing an escape room at the convention, like running it like the whole time, but I didn't do it. I was there alone, so I wasn't about to escape room with a bunch of randoms, but they're a big deal. Toby, I'm looking at the escape room website that I went to. There's a whole page dedicated to just uh large groups that can come. For example, birthday party, corporate team building, proposal, holiday party, school group, bachelor party, bachelorette party, scouting group, family reunion, girls' night out, guys' night out, class reunion. I don't know why they needed to tell us all possible group types, but here we are.
So
It could also just
I'm
be
not
like
I'm not gonna
random group of friends.
I'm not gonna judge part of that statement. Having a proposal there seems weird.
Seems insane.
Like, if on the off chance someone listening to this did it, I'm not. That's not how this conversation is trying to go. But like, if the proposal is you finish the room, like we figure this out. Hey, we unlock the thing. They hide the key. They hide the ring somewhere before the end of the freaking puzzle. Like that's legit. That's fun. But then like, so what happens if you give them the key or they give them the ring and they're like, okay, like after you finish the last step, like I'll hide this where the key to the door is instead of whatever else. Like if you don't finish it, do you just not
Yeah,
propose then?
I
Like do
guess
you just
not.
like sheepishly tell the guy, can you unlock the box anyway? Like, hey, cool, we lost. Marry me. Woo! Like
So so imagine in that case, you are probably doing the easiest one, like the easiest room. And so I clicked on proposal here on this website. You have to pay $50 extra if you are doing a proposal because a team member will assist you with your surprise, including planning of the best place in the escape room adventure to hide your ring. So I think the gist that they're sort of hinting at is they tell you the solution. So there's no way that the person doing the proposing doesn't win because they know how it works at the end and it's all a ruse. So the proposal works.
well, so it's either that or I guess I guess you just kind of front load the puzzle.
I guess, yeah.
But even then, like I think that takes the fun out of it. Like that
Dude, how funny would it be?
that devalues it. I feel like the better move is just letting it ride and being like, either we beat this and we get married, or we don't, and you never know, and you just do
Yeah.
it again different day.
Yeah, totally. How funny would it be if you were planning to propose and you set up the ring and the puzzle and stuff, and then you just get in a massive fight and on like the first easiest puzzle, and you just like you break up before the proposal even happens.
That would be amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
it is a high pressure situation, even though
it
it's
is.
fun. Like something internally clicks in your brain of like, we need to fight about this.
Well,
Not just the couple part, obviously.
and there's like a timer ticking down the whole time. Yeah, it's like if you like are putting IKEA furniture together, but also there's threat of death happening. But Toby, you should always propose when they least expect it. I proposed to my wife after a movie date that she planned, so she never knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Just like she set up the movie, the date, everything was her idea, and then boom, proposal right afterwards. Gotta keep them guessing, you know. So you wait until she books an escape room, then you hit up the escape room place afterwards to then pay the extra $50 and hide the ring. That's the
and then what if they
most.
and then like if it's a good like TV sitcom, she too is hiding the ring somewhere because
Oh,
she's gonna
that's cute.
propose to you, and then like you're both like it's whoever finds it first, and then he finds the ring and he's like, wait, this isn't what I planned, and then he turns around and the other person's like, no, marry me though, and then you're like, oh wait, but no,
Uh,
go do that puzzle over there, go high five the wall with the rubber hand, ha ha ha. Doesn't that sound like a thing to do?
so if you take your bachelorette party there, you get one beverage of choice and one Bavarian pretzel per person. So that's a bargain, I guess.
I feel like any bachelor slash at party and escape room, there's way crazier ways to do that than have one free drink and a pretzel.
A pretzel.
I just want to
Uh,
throw it out there.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I
Speaking
guess
of pretzels, Josh,
speaking of pretzels, let's do the show in reverse again, like we did last time. Let's jump into discussing Gotchard episode 50 since it's the finale
it's
that we
finally over. It's
Gotchard has
finally over.
finally completed. So yeah, the big ending. I think that the well, I guess we'll go through it. I won't do any summarizing at the beginning. We'll dive in and kind of talk about the things that happen, and then we can talk about our feelings about it. So first up in the episode, kind of really just picking up directly from where we stopped last episode. Garion has unveiled his Minato statue, and then he goes into a giant cube in the sky, and he sends out his dread troopers to start turning the Earth gold. I really like the dread troopers. I think they're very cool looking.
It was really cool, and like of all the guesses, a lot of this, at least from my side, a lot of it's going to be like, hey, did we guess this last week or not? Like, how predictable is this ending?
Uh-huh.
I never saw most of the world turning to gold, let alone did I see like 1,000 stormtroopers have like gold paintball guns that were
Yeah.
just shooting everything and like turning people, things, whatever into golden statues.
Yeah, like we saw the Chimera. Is that what he was describing? That he was trying to turn Atropos into? I was like, I thought that was going to be like the weird mechanism for turning the world gold, but no, it was stormtroopers with paintball guns, like you said.
Yeah, like he
Uh,
basically he warped into his Rubik's cube in the sky and he's just like,
yeah,
hey, now it's time. And like I guess they needed like obviously they needed some sort of inciting incident here to like pop this all off. I just didn't think it was gonna be that quick. Like there was no intro this week. There was no special stuff. It was just like, hey, Monato's in gold. Now, hey, now I'm in the sky. Now the rest of the world's gold too. Like, let's go.
tell me there's no damn time. We have
No
too
damn
much to
time.
get to in this episode. We can't have any. We can't have any scenes where we're not just moving 100% speed towards the end. Seconds later, Kyoka gets golded. She's attempting to save Spanner. She pushes him out of the way. And she too turns into a gold statue like Minato. So really just the kids are left at this point, which I thought
As it
was
should
really
be the main
nice.
characters.
Yep, I liked that a lot. That we quickly got the teachers away, and then we really had I don't even know what the vibe that they were going for, that they got was or what. There's a feeling that I had, and I'm trying to put a word to it. It reminded me like of like Red Dawn or something, which is a weird pull, but where it's like all the adults are gone and it's just the kids who have to band together and solve the problem. Like that's what it was like, and I think that I really love that in media, and I thought that was cool here. Inside the cube, which by the way, the inside the cube shots were some of the most unfortunate green screening that we've seen this whole series. It's a real bummer that that looked like such shit. Because in theory, it's cool. He's inside his weird cube room and we're in there fighting and stuff. But my God, it was the worst green screening that we've seen. But inside the cube, Clotho shows up and she has a nice little speech here. She's ready to fight him. And she talks kind of about how like she had been on this quest for power this whole time, but really she just wanted the power to save her family. Um, so that was very sweet and sad. She eventually does the full Dread Type 3 henshin and fights him, but doesn't really put up much of a fight, unfortunately.
So since her piece of the story wraps up pretty quick, let's just finish her part then,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
that's kind of like it's the smallest of the plot points. But like, so basically, they fight. At some point, Hodoro comes into the cube while she's getting her ass kicked by Gurion, and the best line, like Hallmark movie shit, rom com, lovey dovey, not this vibe, was she's dying and says to Hodoro, "If I never met you, I never would have known what I wanted."
That was perfect. Yeah.
It was amazing. Like, it was her coming full circle on, hey, this kid that asked me like, why can't we be friends months ago, was actually like her culmination of, no, I wanted to be human with them. Like, I literally just wanted to be with my sisters.
Yep. Yeah. I was so content being unhappy and not being human until I met you, basically is the gist. And you've like a weird roundabout way of being like, like I'm glad you opened my eyes to what I really desired, even if like I'm never gonna get it. It was very perfect. If
And
only I'd
the
never met you.
and the crazy part to me was, even though they killed the first two off the past 2 weeks,
We're not expecting the death again.
in my uh naiveness, I guess we'll call it, I did not expect the third sister dying this week.
Same.
I would have thought she would have been like Hodoro's secret or one of the keys for him winning later, which I mean, I guess technically he was when we get there. But like, again, I did not see her death coming as well. But I guess it makes sense. Like, their two are gone. Shirley has nothing to live for. They all wanted to be together anyway. Now they are in, I guess we'll call it heaven, whatever we're gonna call it. Like, they're all there.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I expected the revival of the other two before her death in this episode. Like,
Yes, like that, and like that was one of the, at least on my list I rattled off last week. I had it pinned to them all coming back, not them all being dead. So I
yeah,
swerved the wrong way on that one.
definitely. Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, it was a nice story moment this time. And her death immediately led to what I think is Garion's maybe like toughest line this whole episode, where he says that she was a weapon of war desperately searching for a modicum of happiness. So this was bound to happen eventually. Like, Jesus. Like, he says his meanest lines are reserved specifically for like his daughters. Like the people that he pretended were his family for so long.
And
And
it's
that
literally
is
when he kills them. Like,
yes.
all
Yeah.
three of them. I mean, not so much like Lachesis was done in by evil Gon or whatever his name was. So I won't really count that one. But like the little kid, he was like, no, I was just playing dad, and like shattered her heart. And then again, like, just as rude to Clotho on her way out, of like this little, like, I think his line to her in the beginning of their fight before she started like hawking out was like, this little family charade's over, don't even bother with this
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. And then, of course, like last time when he killed Lachesis, he kills her, and there's like, yeah, I'll leave you guys to handle the remains. Like, just like he's a villain that can very easily be interpreted as like way too silly and goofy, because like literally his plan is to turn the world gold, right? Like, that is a goofy ass villain ultimate ultimate goal. But they really give him some lines like this where just like, holy shit, I want you to die so badly right now.
And it's crazy
Uh,
too, because like the first 40 episodes, ballpark, whatever, like, he almost seemed like a goofy sidekick more so than like a big bad evil guy.
yeah,
Like, because
yeah,
like his thing almost the whole time was like, let's turn it to gold. Like, it was
yeah.
just some like dumb, like weird pipe dream, and never like some weird aggro thing where he's gonna murder his fake children and everything else.
Yeah, he was almost like Rita Repulsa at the beginning. Like, let the gold consume you. Like, he had his catchphrases, and it was like, all right, he's silly and goofy, and he dresses funny, and he didn't seem that menacing. But yeah, slowly over time, they've really built that up as like he's pretty scary, and he is ruthless and cutthroat and insane. So yeah, I really liked her arc here. Yeah, the stuff with Hodoro was really good. Her speech there with Hodoro, and then her final ending as she kind of fades away into dust. First she goes to doll form first, which I thought was a nice touch. But before that, she gets to see her sisters one more time and like hold their hand, like their like ghost forms basically show up, and like she touches their hand, and then kind of they all fade away. So she got to be, like you said, reunited with her sisters in wherever the great beyond is for her.
Yeah, no one knows what happens to the voodoo puppets when they die.
That's
So
true.
they all could be, so they could be happy together somewhere. We don't know.
Yeah. One of the other things that we predicted last time, or we hoped would happen last time, is Hodoro and his mom getting a final scene, and that's what happens next here.
So
Hodoro heads back to Kitchen Ichinose.
yep. So they I still think they could have wrapped up the other half. So the whole time, as I've mentioned many times over the, I guess we can call it the past year at this point, I still wanted an actual piece on the dad thing, and like it's okay it didn't happen. Like I can live with that. But if they didn't do the mom talk, I actually would have been pissed.
Yeah, me
And
too.
so I'm glad they did it. Uh, it was the most. I mean, like it was predictable the way I was going to go. Like first she was like angry, and she was like, I know you're the Kamen Rider. Like why are you lying?" And it was like the way she's presented. They presented her, or she presented herself, whatever, the entire time of, I just love my kid. I don't care what he's doing. I want him to be happy.
Yep.
Was like her whole speech. She was like, I know you have to go. I know you have to handle this. She's like, just come home safe. She's she's basically like sending her son off to war kind of vibe. And like but like the cute part tied to all of it, I guess, was after like the happy stuff. She made a meal for all the friends, which I thought
Yeah.
was like classic mom. And then like she makes the comment, he reminds me of his father,
Yeah,
which I
I
thought
think she
was
says
like,
he didn't fall far from the tree.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it was. So I mean, obviously that was a reference to dad then, and then even in the ending part, I think she makes it a little more blatant of like,
Yes.
your dad will be proud, or like he's just like his dad. And they show the picture one more time
Yeah.
with no face, and I was like, I rewound that part 3 times and then went frame by frame in case they actually showed the picture, and they don't, and I was
No.
pissed, a little pissed, whatever.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the mom part here in a second, but the fact that they sort of like did both in the dad stuff, like not only did they just not only did they just not ignore it like we thought they might do, they brought it up twice and then still didn't tell us who the dad was, is freaking insane. I can't believe that's the decision that they made. Unless, big unless here, they were trying to plant some seeds because the dad stuff is going to come up in like the V Cinema movie or something. Maybe they're like planning a future movie or special that's going to involve like Gotchard's dad. That's the only reasonable explanation I can think of for why we would have doubled down on the dad crap this time. It was so weird to do that.
Yeah, because like,
There is a line from the producer's blog that I want to make sure we read. So like this is like Minato kind of giving behind the scenes stuff, and says, "You are curious about Hodoro's father. Minato thought a lot about this topic, but in the end, he decided not to have him appear. Apparently, there's not much fun in talking about the reasons for this, so he won't tell us why. Maybe one day he'll talk about it, but for now, he encourages you to use your imagination." It's so dumb.
I mean, but my imagination gives me the wrong answers, because then I go back to my old guesses of like, is it Minato? But he would probably know his dad, or was it Giryan? But he would probably know Giryan. And it can't be Kudo's dad anymore because that would have been an easy guess. And like,
Yeah.
so if we have to speculate on it, and then the comment is he didn't fall far from the tree, then we'll mark dad as an adventurer or a fighter, or like something in that vein of like a hero role, or like bound to do good in life, or something along those lines. But then like, is his dad an old Kamen Rider? Like is his dad
That seemed to be what they were like hinting
25
towards.
seasons ago? Is his dad fucking Kuga? Is his dad Kuga? I just thought of this now. What if his fucking dad's Kuga?
Well, at the end, they did give Gav the Kuga Gochizo. So there would
Josh,
be some
Josh,
precedent for that.
this just clicked now. This is my new theory. If for some reason they decide, like, they could say that Black Sun's his dad, that'd be awesome. They could say X-Aid's his dad. That would be hilarious. If they pull the swerve of swerves and just some off blog tweet, whatever, is like, oh yeah, Kuga's his dad. There were these 5 hints throughout the season. I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind, and I'm gonna call this the worst season ever.
It's for that one fact.
Yeah, but that would be
Maybe.
hilarious though. Like for real now, if it actually is an old Kamen Rider, that would be hilarious. Like that would actually be like a fun way to swerve it, and
It
that
would be
seems like it's
cool.
an easy movie thing to do. Then
Yeah, I agree. That would be really cool. Yeah, I think they've painted themselves into too many corners with the dad reveal because like they've hid the face, which should tell us that like seeing the face would tell us something. But there are no we've talked about this before. There are no characters that like are in the show that Hodoro hasn't seen because he knows what his dad looks like because he can see that picture even though we can't. And like the way that the things the mom has said, seem to indicate that there's no uh, maybe ties to common writing or ties to alchemy really like beforehand. But also we do know that like Hodoro played with Hopper 1 as a kid. Like he was in that realm or whatever and played with like Hopper 1 and Steamliner when he was a kid. We did see that flashback at some point. So I don't know. Maybe the dad is supposed to be some like I don't know alchemist or something in the past, but yeah, really really crazy that they reference it twice here. But the mom stuff though, I think that this mom scene they hit all the beats that I really wanted. So she got to like tell him that she knew he was a common writer before he told her. That was key to me. Like I needed her to have figured it out, and she did. And I needed her to, like you said, kind of do the sending a soldier off to war vibe. I wrote down kind of exactly what she said. She said any mother would stop you from going out there, but I can't because I'm Ichino Hodoro's mom. And so I thought that was cool. Like it was like I'm your mom, and I know what Hodoro is capable of. So I'm not gonna stop you. Um, and yeah, she kind of told him then like fight with everything you have and don't look back, but then come home to me. And that was all. Like I was like getting very like teared up a little bit for that vibe. And then yes, I needed her to have made food for them, and she did, and it was perfect. She made them some rice balls. It was very cute.
yeah, the rice balls. I mean, I guess it's just like rice balls, but to me, it's the weird, not weird. It's the Americanized Japanese media form of rice balls, where it's like the triangles, the big fat triangles of like
Yeah, yeah.
seaweed and rice, but like they all chomped down, and like of course, mom was doing the good mom vibe, and it was awesome.
And I feel like there's I think we're starting to get we're starting to grasp it. I think there's something very uh cultural with sharing a nice rice ball with somebody because like we saw it in Geets. Do you remember when Geets and Buffa like they had the like gas station rice balls and like
When
that
they were
was like
still
where
fighting, and yeah,
yeah, that's when they kind of had a little bonding moment. Same thing with the navigator and with Geets and now here as well. It's this like it's this sort of like breaking bread moment that characters have, and that's like typically the food that we're seeing displayed when that's happening. I think that's really cool and fun. It was neat to see that here. Yeah, which I thought it was cool. Like, so I think they subtitled it as like "See you later" when Hodoro leaves, but he literally tells his mom like "Thanks for the food," which I thought was nice. And then yeah, he goes and shares it with his friends. And again, this is where they really hit home the like it's just the kids who have to solve this because they're kind of like huddled up on this hill. They're looking up at the giant Rubik's cube, and Hodoro's like he very explicitly says like, "All right, this is the final battle. Here it is."
yeah, and
Um,
it's crazy too because like obviously they're all eating. The two not main characters, Sabi and Renge, have what later turn out to be like freeze in place rocket launchers.
yeah, sick
But
as
like,
hell.
yeah, but it's just like this crazy vibe of like they're on the hill, and like you just see the world going to shit behind them,
Yep,
and it feels like any good media of like, okay, the city is on fire, uh, world's exploding, but we have to do this, and they're on the outskirts planning like their one final evasion, one final attack.
yep. For as quick as they had to move in this finale, I thought that like this moment still hit. Like it still felt very like, oh yeah, like this is heavy. Like there's some real shit going down, and like we have to handle it. Because yeah, there wasn't a lot of room for stuff to breathe in this episode, but I still liked that little moment.
So
And then we get
I just noticed this,
yeah,
and it never been discussed before, I don't think, or we never mentioned it or whatever. Um, so I'm once again real slow playing the her rubbing the picture frame when she says like he's just like you, and like when she stares wistfully at the picture.
Uh-huh.
So I never actually paused and looked at it before. There's absolutely no way that we would ever be able to see a face because it's literally just like Photoshop whited out, like it wasn't
Yeah.
just a reflection.
Yeah.
But from trying to watch it again, she still has her wedding ring on. Like I don't think dad ever died or left.
No.
I
Well,
think he's just off on a mission then.
yeah, her explanation early on was like basically your dad was following his gotcha. Like at some point she says something along those lines, right? Like I think she maybe even says like running a restaurant wasn't your dad's gotcha. Like he's off doing his his own thing or something.
Yeah, like,
Uh,
I always assumed it was like I never really thought about it either. But I guess like I always presented in my mind of like deadbeat dad vibes of like, oh, he
sure.
just left us here. But now like rewatching, like putting in the context all of her last comments to Hodo now and seeing the ring still on, I've never been more convinced he's definitely a Kamen Rider or out doing a Kamen Rider kind of thing. Or maybe he's like Bakuwaje Sentai person, or like there's so many options now.
It's like in Pokemon where like you never see your dad, but like, he's still in the picture. He's just not home.
Yeah, he's out doing dad stuff.
Yeah, or it's like Earthbound where your dad calls you on the phone sometimes. Other than that, you never see him. We get a triple henshin here from our three main riders, which was cool as hell. I liked that a lot. We finally get to see Odoro Gotchard with the upgraded forms of Majade and Spanner. That was really cool. And we start fighting. And during this fight, the three Abyssalisk Kings are kind of revived as dolls, which was cool. We get to see them again for a brief moment, and we give some big baddies for everyone to take down, which was good. And Kudo's dad shows up for this fight too. We get to see him one final time, in suit only, I guess. Do we see him out of the suit? I don't remember.
I thought he was just in, unless like there's so many random faces that pop up in the diner at
Yeah,
the end
yeah.
that he
I don't
could have
think he
been one
was.
of them, but I don't think he was there.
Oh no, we do see him towards the end when they talk about Kudo wanting to be a good alchemist like her dad. We get to see him out of the suit. But yeah, he shows up. Speaking of deadbeat dads, he's a little bit of a deadbeat dad because she shows up for this fight, and Kudo's like, "Oh, Dad, you're okay," and he's like, "Yep, I am. Let's do it." So
And,
like they hadn't been communicating very much. It was very clear.
my favorite part tied to that was like Huda was like, she either said like, it was either I just it was she said, "Don't hold me back," when
Yeah,
they were
don't.
fighting.
Yeah, she like teases him a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a joke, but like, so even like she knows that she's a badass now, and she's like, I mean, obviously half joking, but like, no, don't get in my way. Like, I got to do this.
yeah. So it was cool. I'm glad they got their little moment, and then we got a cool like I said, they all got to kill an Abyssalisk King again, and that was a cool moment where her and her dad got to like do a team up attack. I thought that was really neat. Hodoro at some point in this fight, he transmutes a bridge, uses his alchemy to create a bridge that goes straight up to the cube, and he rides his freaking motorcycle up there. So we got some common riding in Kamen Rider in the
I
final
knew you were
episode
gonna be
here.
stoked about that.
I was
As soon
so
as he got on the
excited.
motorcycle rope, I was like, Josh is gonna love this part.
Yep, it was perfect. We got to see Gold Dash one last time. And it was so cool. We're just like freaking. I made a giant like rainbow road up to the cube, and you just ride your motorcycle up into it. And then yeah, we do a little bit of fighting up there, like we talked about before. But thankfully, because the green screening was so poor, he doesn't spend too long there.
The they both did their henshins in there, and I expected the fight in there, but they just kind of went back to normal world because of course they did.
Yeah,
I feel like the way they got their henshins this time was different and extra special because like the suits kind of built around their bodies first, and then their helmets slid on from behind them and like wrapped around kind of thing.
right. I forgot about that. That was really cool. Yeah,
So like the effect was awesome because right before like because there's a moment where it looks like a Tekken versus screen where it's
yeah,
just like two humans with their heads sticking out, these like flashy as shit, obviously like Kamen Rider outfit combo things, but it looks absurd because like it's a giant adult in a scary gold outfit versus like a little bowl haircutted kid with like rainbows all over him, and like just the visual of it is hilarious.
yeah. Very funny. But really effective. I liked that a lot. But before we continue on with the Gotchard fight with Garyon, we get a little scene outside with Renge and Wasabi, and this essentially is the public's redemption, because last time we saw everyone was against the alchemists and against the Kamen Rider and hated chemis, and this was where we win them over. So Sabi and Kudo, or sorry, and
Right? Yeah.
Renge, use their cool little like freeze in place guns, and help out
Making
some of
making
the
its
public.
fantastic comeback after 2 episodes of Kudo and Renge being frozen to the floor. Like I
I'm
thought that
so
was
happy.
hilarious. And that was
Yeah.
like they're like, look, we actually weaponized it. We're good.
It felt like we went through that for a reason then finally.
Yeah, like
Like,
that was a weird random payoff
yeah.
that we didn't know we needed or wanted, but like, hey, it was cool that happened.
Yeah, it made it so much better for me. And we get to see the public being like, "Oh wow, you saved us." Okay. And then like, okay, we'll join the fight. We can't let them fight alone." So it was a very quick turnaround, but like it was a scene that we needed because we needed to show that the public doesn't hate them anymore. So we got that done, and I think Kajiki shows up at this point too to help too.
Yeah, because like basically they're like they froze when they froze the people, and they were like, "Hey, the alchemy people are kind of cool." They're all like, "Yeah, like you need to work with us. We're not here to mess you up. Like we need your help right now." So then Kajiki came in and like distracted one, and then like the cool Yakuza boss was like, "Get them, boys, let's do this!" And like everyone like did like the nice little slow swerve of, "Yeah, okay, like the kids are right. We'll do what we
Yeah,
got to do."
exactly. Um, so that was cute and fun, and I liked how that shook out. And then we go back to the Gotchard fight. And this next little scene is just wild. So basically, Gotchard is throwing everything he can at Garyon, but Garyon is just turning every chemi possible to gold and every form that Hodor uses to gold. So he first turns Nijigon into gold, so he can't be Rainbow Gotchard. And then Hodoro tries out UFO X form, turns to gold, and then the giant Bat King Robo, and then Needlehawk, and then finally Ten Liner and Crosshopper, and then finally just the driver straight up gets broken because everything has been kind of destroyed and turned to gold. That was really cool to get like a quick little like remember all these forms like very very fast as they all get turned to gold.
Like I thought that was cool. Like the fight looked neat, and again, like the reverse of one of my questions last week was, will Hodor Gotchard whatever get like a final form for the final fight? And in like what I'm gonna call a cooler twist now, he actually got his oldest form
Yeah.
of like he went OG, and that was like the actual key to what was like to the fight. But it was also funny to me because now Hopper got murdered twice this season. He got turned into a white grasshopper, and then they also spray painted a Hopper toy gold, and he
Yep.
got golded. So Hopper took 2 L's this year.
It'll happen from time to time. Uh this was an interesting the next little bit here sort of before we get the final form, which is actually the first form again. Um it's we do an interesting little thing where basically the bad guy wins for a second. Which is really crazy. Everything we get giant dread troopers like like
Like a T
giant
Rex coming over the woods.
exactly like giant mech sized things. Everyone gets turned to gold. So Hodoro, all the friends, and then the whole world starts to get turned into gold. And we think like, oh, how are we gonna come back from this? And Hodoro basically is just like, nah, son. So
So
he's covered in gold, and through the power of friendship, he continues to move and fight through the gold plating to the point where he breaks free.
I I think it's dumb that little human Hodoro was able to power through the gold and keep walking. But aside from that being a little too corny and cheesy for me, because like basically like in like not so much in a superhero movie, like an action movie, where like the hero gets shot and he just keeps walking towards the evil villain because he's so pissed off and so motivated, and he gets shot again, and the villain's like, "Why won't you just stay down?" And like the guy's riddled with bullet holes, but he's like, "Because I'm gonna kill you first." Like Hodo did the same thing while taking blasts of gold, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really stupid. I mean, like corny stupid, whatever. But the most important thing, and the last time I can say it this season, Josh, this is some Kingdom Hearts ass shit where Hodo says, "My friends are my power," and beats the boss and saves the world.
I
Just
can't
remember
even
that this whole season has been a Kingdom Hearts allegory, and that part's pretty funny to
I can't even deny. That's literally what happens. His friends are his power.
me. And especially too because like he even has like the ghosty mental flashbacks of the season of like his mom saying, "Go out and fight with everything you have." He remembers Clotho dying and saying like, you need to be the hero now. He remembers all of his fights with his friends, and then he literally hits him with like the "My friends are my power" line.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
because the hopes and his line was, "Because the hopes and dreams of my friends are pushing me on." So and then he breaks out of the gold and punches him in the face, and like
Yep.
it's the purest like sweet little wonderful Hodoro boy move ever. But it was so good, and so like that was fantastic. Like him breaking out of it that way was
Yeah.
fantastic. Him just getting shot over and over and walking through it was the part that irritated me.
I wrote down around this point in my notes that Hodoro here is basically Neo at the end of the Matrix trilogy. Like from here on out, he has essentially ascended. He is now God, and he can do anything with alchemy that he can imagine. Like he has no limits any further. He can break free of the gold. This is where he transmutes a new driver, which was my favorite line from the whole episode. I think Garion is like, "You transmuted a new driver," and he's like, "Of course I did. I'm Ichinose Hodoro."
No, it's even better than that. He goes, "I'm a big shot alchemist."
Yeah,
And then Guren says something else, and then he goes, "After all, I'm Ichino's Hodoro."
that's
And
so
like
freaking cool.
I think it was somewhere in between, either before those two things or even before that. He's like, "Because I'm Kamen Rider Gotchard," and like just seeing him have his like this is like his true hero's moment.
Yeah,
But he was just so hyped, and he's like, "I am the Kamen Rider. I am a big shot alchemist. I am fucking Hodoro. Like, let's go, man!" Like it was just so good.
because he said that throughout the series of like, I'm gonna be a big shot alchemist, but it's always been from a place of I'm kind of a nobody now, and like I'm looking up to my senpais, and I'm learning so much, and like I'm gonna eventually be this thing. And he finally got this moment where it's like, no, confidently, I am that now. And that was cool. And
But
then yeah, speaking of him being Neo from the Matrix, he cleanses the whole Earth using his alchemy and basically just like lifts up the gold and kind of like balls it all up, moves it away.
and like yeah, like it was all that. He got his little like Japanese kanji, whatever, like his little like anime splash screen of like,
Yep.
"I'm doing this." Uh, especially when like he goes like not like uber rage mode, but like I have all the powers mode. Like when he finally did the rider kick to win, they even had a little thing where like all the chemis kind of like put their little souls into him for the kick to do it, and like it was just
Yeah. Well,
like the
so
couple minutes of this episode were just like fantastic of like all the
yeah,
hype things, the perfect payoff for.
it was full on power fantasy. Like, so it's hard to kind of tell, but you find out sort of later. Like, Hodoro kicks Garion off planet with his rider kick. Like he kicks him way up into the sky off planet onto a new Earth that he created with alchemy that now all of the Chemi friends are at. And then that's where they kind of give him their full power, feed into him for the big final rider kick. That's freaking insane.
And he said he was going
um,
to do it. He
he
said,
did.
I said, "I'm going to make a new world." Then he made the world.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And then like it's kind of cheesy looking too. They have like what's almost like a video game loading screen of like him standing in front of all the chemis dancing around behind him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they hinted towards it in a blurry moment in the beginning of the episode, but like seeing it at the end, like it is kind of cool and like hype motivational of like, yeah, look at them all, like all these little goofy things definitely have his back, like they're all here, like just a nice little moment.
Yeah, it was goofy. It looked a little silly, but I was 100% there. I was very hyped for that. Like hell yeah, like because then I'm like picking out ones like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember when we met them. Like that was so cool. I was like, oh yeah, there's so and so, there's so and so. It was neat looking at that scene, and it felt very it felt very justifying. Like, yeah, we got here, we did this. I thought that was really cool. Garion disintegrates. We finally get to see him just straight up die, which was good. And yeah, basically then after that we get a few months later. So we get to kind of catch up after the big ending. And I loved this whole part. So
I hated that Legend was there.
well, so Hodoro is talking to Kamen Rider Legend on the phone, Kaguya, and Kaguya is like, "Oh, so what's been happening since all this? Like, what's new?"
I'm
And
naked in my
Hodoro's,
bathtub one more time. What are you up to, bud?
yeah, I that's what I do when I'm hanging out naked in my bathtub is I just call teenagers. Why wouldn't I do that? Um, but Hodoro got to be like, well, like a lot of stuff's different, but mostly in little ways. And we get the news that the freshmen are interested in alchemy school, so they get a whole bunch of incoming freshmen. Spanner's apparently working on getting better at chess. That was his sort of wrap up. And Kudo is working
I
on
feel like
big.
I feel like it was get better at chess slash like learn how to be a more open human because
Yeah,
of your girlfriend that's not here anymore.
yeah. It was like smile more. Basically, it was his actual goal. And then Kudo is working on becoming a better alchemist than her dad. And the chemis, we find out, are now essentially an urban legend in this world. And Hodoro explains that, like, hey, everybody saw him, but turns out grown-ups like are just looking for an excuse to forget. So
And that pisses
now,
me off. It's like goddamn Santa Claus. The fucking adults are just like, oh, that's fake. Who cares? They just
uh
hand waved it away.
like, in some extent, like, I totally believe the scenario in which, like, even with actual proof, people, the world is like, nah, that's not real. But like, the whole world knew. Like, there was like a whole thing where, like, the entire populace was anti-chemi, anti-alchemist in mobs. It felt like we were a little too far for the hand wavy, like, everyone forgot what chemis are. Uh, but it is what it is. It's a minor point, all things considered. And then the restaurant here, Kitchen Ichinose, is essentially filled to the brim with cameos. So the composer of the show
No,
is there.
no. The main one is back on. The band that wrote the intro theme is the first people that talk.
I was gonna
And because
end. I was gonna end with Back On for you.
no, no, we're doing them first because
Back
Josh and I
On
were joking around
and
before.
Flow are
Yeah, I
there.
took two different tables, but yeah. So it was just like to me that makes up for the no intro and not getting to hear the song one last time. Really,
Yeah, yeah.
that like no, you guys can just be in the episode instead. And
It
like
was cool. It was cool.
that's cool. And like the fact that like I know they do it every year, and it's probably not that big of a deal. But like when I made you watch that live version of the theme song, and the kids got to jump around with the band and like be friends and stuff,
Yeah,
like this actually seems like the perfect way to tie this up. Even if they could do it every other season, and I don't know or recognize it, but somehow with like this being a show of like friendship and like everyone sticking together kind of thing, I feel like it fits the best to have the band there because like it seems like the band and the real life kids know each other or friends, whatever. Like
yeah.
it just seemed like a cool thing to do.
You and I get choked up a lot about, like, this being like a weird coming of age for the kids that are in the show. Like young people becoming common writers or being on common writer and it being this kind of like big life changing thing, this big huge role, and like, it definitely feels like from the videos and stuff we see that it's like this year-long summer camp that they're involved in. And like, we've talked about that a lot, that we like that feeling. And just like, again, thinking about it from that perspective of like, yeah, you got your own theme song from this band that you probably like and you probably know. Then you got to dance around on stage with them, and now they like get to show up in the final episode and you get to hang out with them again. Like, that's cool. That's just pretty neat.
Yeah.
From a real life perspective. But yeah, so Back On and Flow are there. Yeah, you recognize their faces. I saw them and I'm like, I'm pretty sure those are like people I should know. And I had to go look it up to figure out who they were. I don't know them by face, but
So like
uh,
the only way that you would have, because like I've watched a couple of their live shows because I really like that band in general. So like the singer kid or guy, whatever, he has a very distinct face to me, and he always has fun colored hair. So as
yeah.
soon as I saw those two things together, I was like, "Holy shit, it's the singer!" But like to not give you shit like I was before. Like other
Mhm.
than when I made you watch the live video, that probably would have been your only actual like FaceTime with the band.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect you to actually recognize like, hey, this is the person that was there kind of thing.
I did recognize that I'd seen them before. I definitely like would not have ever been able to confidently say who they were, but I did have that feeling of like I'm pretty sure like I've seen these people before. But it was cool once I looked it up. And like I said, we also then got the composer was there. He's reading some sheet music. We obviously would never know who he was without looking that up.
That
Uh,
I kind of thought it was Hodo's dad for a second because they flashed
Me
like
too.
they go through the faces too fast. Like at least for like me who doesn't know anybody, I need more like camera time on each person. And I saw the random guy, and I was like, "Oh, he's talking to Hodo's mom." And I was like, "Wait, are they actually answering this question?" Because they show the composer before they have mom establish like he's just like his dad, and they do like
Yeah.
facing again.
Well, and so they do have the composer like I said reading sheet music, but they zoom in on his face as he like spins in his chair, and if you watch his hands, he's got sheet music, but obviously you're looking at his face. So I had to run it back to actually notice the music the first time. But yeah, I did the same thing. I was like, "Oh, is this Hodoro's dad? Like, is that what they're trying to show me right now?" Because he also like he looks kind of suspicious, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
like
that's just a dude isn't an actor, so like he didn't really know how to behave. But like he has this air about him that's like, "Oh, well, you stick out. What's going on here?" So that's pretty funny. And then we also get a woman. I don't really understand this cameo to be 100% honest, but like it's Hopper One's voice actress. She comes in and she has like this like blubbering line about like, "Oh my god, that boy, he's really special. He's got these really big eyes." Like I didn't really understand that whole thing.
what I think it was just to tie to because she came in with two other guys, and like she established the one guy was her dad and one was somebody else.
Yeah.
I think the dad was one of the actors that were in the restaurant every time.
Yes,
They,
those two guys that came in with her are the regulars in the restaurant. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it was more so just funny that like I guess like we'll call it the joke, but the joke to me was, oh, the voice actress for Hopper, the grasshopper with giant eyes, is that his voice actress is like, oh, I know Hodoro, and did the big eye thing, like she was
Okay.
trying to look like Hopper and make a comment like, oh yeah, Hodoro's my buddy, he looks cool.
All right, I'll buy that. I'll buy
But I
that.
mean I mean I'm making this up. I mean this could 100% be what it is, but I'm literally just that was my only takeaway of what that conversation would be.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I definitely realized who she was before looking it up because of her voice. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's got to be who that is," and then looked it up to confirm. So that was cool. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Even though they definitely like misled me with the composer specifically, thinking it was the dad. It was cool to see all those cameos at the end. I thought that was nice that they threw all that in.
And like obviously like so like the other times like when we watch the movies and there's like seven different characters and we're like it's cool they have all the characters and all the suits but like it's not for us meaning you and I us because it's the weird thing of like I don't have enough backstory and lore to be able to put names to faces and like be like oh this is so and so from 5 seasons ago and like this was probably the closest shot we had of effectively being able to pinpoint things
Dude, this one
like
was for you. Back on was there.
yeah, like so like I got the band because that was an easy one. But like I would never know the producer. It never would have clicked. Like I might have looked up Hopper's voice actress once in the beginning of like, hey, did she do Pikachu? Like what
Yeah,
cartoons or what video games do I know that she did? So like I never would have kept that face into memory. And like I guess there's some people that knew and these were all cool cameos. Like rewatching it vaguely as we're talking, the Hopper thing is funnier or like I get it more now because she's acting like Hopper or like
yeah.
referring to Hodoro like she knows him even though she doesn't because her little grasshopper version knows him and like it makes more sense. It's just I guess still not for me. Like there's not real place here for this for me.
I wish she had said like, "I'm gonna hop on up in the seat" or something dumb like that. That's all. That's what I wanted instead.
Or
Gonna
even
hop
like
over
yeah,
here.
or like something with Hopper or the number one or have like
It
Hodoro recognizing her.
would have been cool. Yeah.
I think would have been funnier or like have her walk in like if it was me And like obviously I can't. This is not me, whatever. But like I would have had her come in with like bug sunglasses, like the big frames that people like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have her like bump into Hodoro and be like, "Oh, sorry," or like, "Sorry, I was hopping around and ran into you," or something.
yeah.
Like, I feel like they could have made the joke a little more obvious for people that don't get it, because then it's funny. Like it's a funny thing, but like it shouldn't need explaining.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. After this, Toby, we find that all the Kemis are living on that new Earth that Hodoro created, and we go to visit. Basically, they need to make sure that it is safe for all the Kemis and that they're all going to be happy. And Hodoro falls down. Kudo picks him up, and it's deja vu from episode 1. And they run off into the sunset. Basically,
They ran off holding hands,
they did.
and I was trying to figure out if that was like a tee hee hee finally together thing or just like
No,
a other thing. I will say during when the credits are rolling and all the chemis are CG'd onto the world, some of them look way better and actually realistic compared to others.
yeah.
Like the crab, the bike, the car, and some other little ones are kind of like actually interacting with the ground, the quote unquote ground, and it looks really neat. But then like obviously a bunch are weird flying things or weird just like cartoons stuck to the wall. And it's
Well,
like this
because
doesn't look as good.
there's some things that they had actual 3D models for, but then there are others where they just had the card, right? So it's just the image from the card dancing around because it's like plastered to the wall or plastered to the sky. So yeah, I think that that's just a product of how developed was this Kemi? How often did it show up in the show?
He was a picture, so he's staying a picture.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was a cute little ending, and it's a cute little way to make the Kemis happy and have this like happy world without having to explain for a long time why everyone is suddenly okay with living with like 101 Kemis in the world, right? Like that's a much bigger change.
So this is also 2 seasons in a row where the lead rebuilt the world in their image. Just for the
Very true.
record.
Yeah. And yeah, essentially two seasons in a row where the lead becomes God at the end. Yeah. Which probably fairly common as far as these things go. Then we get at the end our little handoff to the new writer, which was a cute
So
little scene.
it was good. As another quick shill here, patreon.com/the Comment Riders, where you can watch us do Mystery Science Theater 3000 type commentary over the shows. We have tons of seasons out there. More will keep coming. Um, I asked everyone to make a guess of what the handoff would be because last season I rewatched last year's handoff from Geets to Gotchard, like the week before this episode came out. I said I want everyone's opinions, so I rewatched last year's again. I had you rewatch it, and if you don't remember, or this is your first Kamen Rider season, Geets, the pro tag of last year, was like a god, like kind of strutting through the city of like, hey, the world's a good place now, everything's safe, we're cool here. And Hodoro runs by chasing Hopper, and he's like trying to catch him, like slapsticking it up. And Geet says, "I hope you find your happiness. That was silly." And like it didn't make sense back then. It was a throwaway line. It was just some weird thing. But like rewatching it after episode 49 of Gotchard, it was interesting to me of like, obviously they knew what they were doing, but find your happiness is a perfect quote to somebody whose entire season is, I need to find my gotcha, which was effectively, he had to find his happiness. So I thought that
Yep.
was like the perfect handoff. It was the best goofy way to do it. So I was all hyped on this. And I said, I want everyone to guess their best version of what this year's would be. And I think all of us effectively all had the same idea of Hodoro cooks for Gav, which didn't come true. But I
No.
think the way they played it off works just as well. And you can say what that was now.
Yeah, it was very cute. So Commoner Legend is there. He shows up and he's like, "Oh, you must be the new Kamen Rider. I have a special present for you." He hands over a Kuga Gochizo, which is the gimmick for the new writer. Gav is like, "Oh, I've never seen a Gochizo like this before. Very cool." And then Gotchard shows up, and we get some like banter between Kamen Rider Legend and Gotchard. about, essentially it's Gotchard's like, oh yeah, it was my idea for the present. And Legend's like, well, yeah, but I bought it. So they were kind of discussing who gets the credit for it, basically. And then Gav kind of splits them in between. He henshins off screen, which is funny.
Well,
And
they can't ruin it yet.
can't
Like
ruin it yet. Yeah.
that's the hype thing. They got to wait until.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And then he gets between Legend and Gotchard, and he's like basically like, "Hey, don't fight, guys!" And he gives them both packs of gummies, and then sort of like he kind of fucks off, and then they eat gummies through their helmets and love how delicious they are.
I was offended that like they both touched the bag and they're like, "Let's eat," and all I did was like, it was the worst fake eating possible because they
It was
basically
amazing.
just like touched their flat palm to their helmet in the mouth area and was like, "Yummy."
It was so dumb. It was dumb and fun. I liked it. But yeah, he gives him one of the little gochizos, which is kind of cool. It was very funny for you that it was Kuga too. I loved when I saw that it was Kuga. I'm like, yes.
Everyone's against me, man. Everyone's against me.
They gave him the gochizo for Gotchard's dad. That made perfect sense.
See, that makes it extra funny. If that's
Yeah.
really what it is, that's so fucking funny.
But we'll have to look back now in 49 more episodes to see if there were any like hints for what Gav is about in this little handoff, like we were just talking about with Geets and Gotchard.
So at least like from the bare minimum, from the if I'm gonna take last year's as the one line that is truly spoken for the crossover,
Yeah,
is like the gap or like the thought process of the next season. He either really wants to collect them all,
yep.
slash his quote unquote gotcha is just he just wants everyone to be happy. Like not so much finding his happiness.
Just everyone else be
His
happy.
thing is more I want everyone else to be happy in the world.
We'll have to
So
find
like
out.
I guess we will. But if that's the plot, I think they did a very good job again of a little 5-second cutaway of being like, no, this is the handoff. We told you again, like this is the setup for the season. This is what this person's about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Legend plays a role in Gav
I
as
hope not,
well.
because I'm fucking tired of Legend. I really don't like that character.
I think Legend's around for a little bit. I think we'll keep seeing Legend in roles like this. I think that like Legend will like pop in from time to time and be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And like we'll kind of be that sort of a character. But we'll see. Maybe they'll forget about him too. Who knows? And that wraps up episode 50. That's the end
That
of
wraps up the season, man. We got
wraps
through
up.
another
Yeah,
season.
exactly. So, what are your thoughts overall then of the episode and of the season? Now that you've got through it all.
I think they did a very, barring the things that I wish they would have finished. Like, I really wish they would do something with the dad. More
Me
so
too.
than we're leaving it open ended as a stupid guess. And we're gonna like let you guys figure out later if we actually decide to do something with this kind of thing. Like that I still kind of wish was solved, even though like that's just my own personal quirk.
Yeah, me too.
I think a lot of the things that we pointed out last week of I had a checklist of like 10 things that should be done or should try to be done or something along those lines. Uh I think they handled enough of them, whether I guessed like if they're all like binary choices of like all the girls come back or all the girls died, like even if I was on the wrong side of that binary choice, I'm still glad that it was addressed. Like that effectively is the same thing. Whether
Yeah.
like all the girls came back this week or the third one died and they're all still together, like that's effectively still closing that piece of the arc. So I think they handled most of the things that needed to be done. I kind of think the hand wave of oh the adults forgot about the cameos and we put them on a different country anyway. That part is kind of cheesy, and like that
Yeah.
was the part that like my concern last week or my statement at least was they're gonna have to rush this and it's gonna feel weird. And I feel like they kind of rushed it and it made it feel weird.
Yeah.
Like he just said like I'm gonna make a new world, and then they got in a fight and he made a new world, and then he was like, well, adults don't really believe in chemis anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And like I know it gets them all off the planet and they're all safe. They can maybe move humans into the new world to live with chemies peacefully. But like, I mean, that's kind of finished. The mom thing was perfect. That was everything
Mhm.
I would have expected it to be. It was fantastic. I think that was really the main ones though.
Yeah.
So like, I think they closed out the story well. Uh, Little goofy things like the backup alchemy academy place, like they didn't really have to be addressed. It would have been cool if it came back. No big deal. But as an overall thing, like I think the season had different highs and lows than Geats did to compare it to the other actual real season I've watched in like
Mhm.
the new era, Reiwa era we are, right?
Reiwa, yeah.
Look at me knowing stuff. So like I think it worked overall, but like the joke I made a while ago, they basically rebooted the show 6 times. Like I made the joke, I made it as a dumb joke a couple times. But like it kind of like started and stopped a bunch, which felt weird. And like there's a bunch of like slow ass episodes or like nothing really happened. And I feel like those lows were like super low, but the episodes that were really good, I feel like kind of evened it back out.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
felt like overall it was a super solid season. Kind of goofy at first until we started picking everything up. But like I have no complaints about it. I thought another solid season. It was a good time to watch with you and screw around about and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as far as this last episode goes, my main complaint, I think, like, the one thing I'd change, I think addresses, like, any issue I'd have with it, is I wish that it was a two-parter instead of one episode. Like, I think that would fix some of the pacing that I think they had to go too a little too fast on and things needed to breathe a bit more, and it might have let them address a couple other little things that I wanted them to, like, you mentioned the other, alchemy, building and stuff like that. Like, we could have brought them up real quick and, like, kind of at least given a little blurb about what they're up to or what they're doing or some connection there. Yeah, I think if this had been more of a two-parter, we would have gotten to pace it a bit well, a bit better. They are gonna do, apparently at some point in the next couple weeks, a director's cut of this episode that's gonna go on their streaming service, so hopefully that gets, subtitled, because 'cause I'm interested in seeing that. If they can put a little bit more into it and change up the pacing a bit, I'm really interested to see, like, what that looks like. But I think they hit all the points, like you said. They hit a lot of the high points and stuff that I really wanted them to do. I think they did that really, really well. And I think you're right. I think there were some low points in the series that a few episodes here and there that really stand out as just like real stinkers. But for the most part, yeah, super fun season. Had a lot of fun watching it with you. And it's this like the whole thesis statement for this whole season, so much different than Geats, is like this like bubbly, youthful optimism. And like really felt that throughout the whole series. And like especially here in the end. And like so many times, like it's at the beginning when we first meet Hodoro, and I'm having this like, oh, this guy's gonna be like our hero. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to put up with like this guy. And he wins me over so quickly, and I root for him so much. And like we talked about at the end, where it's like finally he gets to be like, I am the big shot alchemist. It's like what a cool freaking arc for like this Clark Kent esque like perfect kid type stereotype. I thought that was all really, really great. So as far as like a tonal shift coming from Geats, which I know is maybe a thing that like threw people at the beginning. I loved it. I really liked that a lot, and I think that it was all very, very cool. And um, the cast of characters ended up being awesome. I not only love Hodoro, but like I deeply love like Spanner and Kudo and the rest of the gang. Like I think that they're awesome, and really like for me, most of the time, the shows that I really love are the ones that have an awesome like surrounding cast as well. So it's not just the main character, but like the cast is good, and I think this is definitely one of those seasons as well.
And especially with like the Hodoro arc of his finale being like, I am the Kamen Rider. I am a badass alchemist. Like, let's go back to the literal first episode. He was a dorky high school kid who had no plans for his future and couldn't fill out his career summary because he had no idea what he wanted to do with himself.
Right? Yeah.
So like to go take it all the way back to our first real introduction, he was someone who was completely lost in the world, didn't know what to do, was a bad chef, which is the thing we kind of dropped, but that's fine. But like he went from I don't know my place in this world to I am the most badass alchemist there is. and like I demand, I will will this into existence that we will all be friends, or we will all get along together in this world. So like it's a crazy arc from that first lost boy to I am the badass. I'm going to kill you now. Like, come at me.
And like really like beautifully well done on that arc too. Like they took it gradually, he grew over time, and it wasn't just like flipping a switch at the end. Like it felt very earned. I thought that was really well done. So yeah, another good one in the books there. We Let's jump into a couple questions here. We were running a
Oh wait,
little long, but go ahead.
I get maybe we are. It's a season finale. We might as
Season
well.
finale, exactly.
So I guess after today's episode, the last times you will hear about Gotchard from us will be if they release the director's cut.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then we should live watch that on patreon.com/the comment writers for only
Sure.
$3 a month. You can listen to us watch it because we're not going to talk about it otherwise. So I'm
There you
gonna
go.
I'm
There you
gonna I'm
go.
gonna I'm gonna bait the hook for this thing that may or may not happen. But along with that, Josh, I just pre-ordered a box of the stupid Kamen Rider chocolates that come with little
Hell
statues
yeah.
because I
Yeah.
was like, I was looking for if there was the Gav candies that he gave to Hodoro and Legend, and there weren't those, but there is the box of dumb chocolates with little metal figures. So also on patreon.com/the comment writers, I will be unboxing those when we get them. Josh will do it with me, and then we will look at little figures and eat chocolate and have a good time.
I'm so
So again,
excited.
patreon.com/the comment writers.
Speaking of patreon.com/the comment writers, one of the things that you can do when you join in the Patreon is hit us up on Discord and ask questions in our episode questions channel over on Discord. So I want to answer a couple of those questions, and that'll probably wrap us up then for the week. But the first question comes in from Kieran, and Kieran says, "We've just finished Gotchard, so the question is, what will Gav's final form be?" And I don't mean his final form, which for some reason looks exactly the same as his base form, which is a Gotchard reference. So any predictions for Gav forms before we watch any of the show?
What I know there's food based ones, and I vaguely saw a general idea of what the food based ones were.
Okay.
So I'll ignore that. But if you're doing food things, I feel like the final form has to be some sort of crazy like amalgamation of put all the foods together.
Just a food fight form.
Yeah, because like there's like I've had chocolate before that has potato chip pieces in it.
Uh-huh.
So like something like that where it's somehow just like a bunch of food put together because I don't know what else to preface this off of. Like he kind of looks to me he looks more like a bat with his color scheme and the way that helmet looks
I can see
than
that. Yeah. He almost looks
the,
like Zubat, kind of.
yeah, like Zubat as like if someone was like I'm a human version of Zubat, like that's
Yeah.
kind of what he looks like to me. So like I guess they can make him look more batty, but like I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know how to answer it because I don't know what to base it off of to like make it a
um
thing. Yes.
I probably not like as a final form, but I hope at some point we get like a 3-tier wedding cake version of Gav where he's just like he's very ornate, and he's like he's very bulky, but he's got like, very like beautiful like piping all over him, and then like his head pops out of the top like someone pops out of a wedding cake. That's what I want. But yeah, I feel like Gav specifically going in, having seen a lot of the like scans, like magazine scans and stuff. Um, his forms are gonna be wild from what I've seen. Like just the ones they're showing already. There's a lot of uh, I think Gotcha was kind of like this too, where it's like it's not just we put a slightly different colored armor piece on the front of you. It's like, oh my god, you're way taller, you're huge now, you've got a giant arm, like giant foot, like there's lots of weird craziness. So if that's at the beginning, I think it's only gonna get weirder with Gav. I thi I kinda think that's what we're in for really a lot with Gav, is it's just gonna be weird. Uh, there's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of strangeness, I think, surrounding Gav.
I hope
Uh,
so.
yeah, which I'm definitely here for. And our next question, Toby, comes in from Charlie. And Charlie says, "Now that Gotchard is done, out of this and Geats, which one do you prefer?"
I feel like I kind of half answer with my rambling before, but if I didn't, like I think they're both good. I feel like it's I feel like it's the same show but different, and I don't know how to pick. I don't know how to pick which child's my favorite.
Yeah, it's
Like
hard.
the ending of both are basically there's a brand new happy world. Like Geetz's arc as a character was definitely different. Like Geetz was more like I need to learn how to be a human before I become a god, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like if Kawa was the main, I feel like it'd almost be the same season. But like I don't know. Like I think Hodoro as the goofy lovable kid who's not too whiny and too much of a shithead like I think Kawa was now. Like I think his work's better as a nice humanity story kind of thing, more so than Geets does. But I don't know like one better than the other, at least as of now. I put them on
yeah.
the same tier.
Yeah, Gotchard is also like very new now in my brain, right? Because like just coming off the high of watching the finale, and like obviously we spent the last year watching this, and Gates is older than that now, so hard to compare because of the freshness of Gotchard and the excitement level of Gotchard. But I think that I like Hodoro better than Ace as far as like a main character goes. Like I like Ace a lot, but as far as like where they were at the beginning to kind of where they are at the end, and like that transformation, how much I just like deep down in my heart loved Hodoro towards the end. I think I feel that about him, but not really about Ace. But I think the other characters of Geets, I maybe like a little bit more than some of the other characters in Gotchard, even though I love the characters in Gotchard. Like, I think about Buffa, like
Like
Spanner.
Buffer was awesome. Like
Yeah,
I definitely like Buffer better than Spanner.
yeah.
100%.
I
Hard
think
stop.
those are the easy comparison, like Buffa to Spanner. And again, love Spanner, but Buffa wins that easily. And you want to compare like Neon and Kudo. Like I maybe like Kudo a little bit more, but it's pretty close, I think, between the two of them.
I think I like
And then
Kudo more, and Kudo was definitely more of a human than Neon
yes,
was, especially by
yeah.
the end. Like
Uh,
like Kudo's arc or like personality or quirks or development, I felt like kept moving forward and an upward trend. And Neon went from like it was kind of like a roller coaster and then plateaued towards the bottom of like set dressing by the end of like, hey, the weird creepy guy wants to talk to her and
yep.
she's moody because she's lost for 7 episodes and like I still think they did Neon dirty compared to
I,
like how
I
Kudo got
agree.
to be a hero and everything else.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, like exactly what I was gonna say. Um, she had a lot of potential, but then like they didn't nail the landing on her, and it definitely floundered at the end, especially. But think about some of the other characters that we loved in Geats, like the Navigator, so good. Really, really liked her a lot. Kawa doesn't really even have like a Gotchard comparison, really, aside from Hodoro. And I thought most of the time Kawa was pretty great. Um, Kawa's sister Sarah was awesome. Like there's like a lot of characters mixed in to Geats that I really, really loved. And kind of just the premise of Geats like was fun, where they, in a similar way to Gotchard, got to kind of reboot the show a bunch of times, but it was in the framework of the show because hey, we're gonna run a new Grand Prix and it's completely different this time. So it was kind of nice to get to have that like refresh while still feeling like the plot was moving forward in Geats. So I guess long story short, if I'm ranking them, I think Geets wins by like a percentage point to Gotchard. But it is incredibly close between these two. Like I think we've had two real bangers seasons in a row here, and it's yeah, like you said, kind of hard to pick like one child from another.
And so I guess another weird thing of me of like I'm not naive enough to think that like every season of the show is perfect and like everything is gonna be wonderful and magical all the time. But like I really feel like we're catching, at least from my standpoint, like we're catching a good gap of shows where like it's never bad. Like Geet season was my first real one, but that was fun. Like Gotchard was fun. I knew more so of what to expect going into it and like how it was all gonna play out kind of. But like that was still fun. And like it kind of puts a weird precedent for me for Gav now too.
Yeah,
Of like, hey, like this is cool, but
it's
like
got a lot to live up
what
to.
do I yeah, what do I like like it seems tough that there be 3 solid seasons in a row of anything. Like it's not just like it's not like a
Yeah.
Kamen Rider specific thing, but like if the 3rd season's awesome too, like I just maybe I just started watching the show at the right time, kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if it's good. I hope that it is. But yeah, you're right. Like, you know, 3 seasons in a row that are like all kind of bangers is yeah, you don't see that super often in TV. Uh, but you know, they've been cranking these out for a while, and you know, we've watched others on the Patreon that are also very good. Like, you know, X8 in that mix, and we both loved that. And you know, that's that's from
O's
years
might
ago
be
now.
struggling. O's might be struggling, but
I
it
think
might, it
I
might be
think
getting there.
yeah, I think at this point where we are in O's, I think we would both agree it's our least favorite show we've watched so far. But I think O's is just a slow burn too. Like I think it is ramping up where we're currently at. Uh, but anyway, yeah. Thanks everyone for the questions there in the Discord. We did also get an email from Shade. I wanted to shout Shade out for that email. He sent in some pictures of the cast and kind of in the big send off and stuff, which was very nice, and some details from the producer's blog. We've touched on some of those as we've gone through, so we won't we won't read that email word for word. But again, thanks for sending that email in, Shade. You can send those over to cast at commonwritersucks.com. Once again, cast at commonwritersucks.com. So yeah, that's gonna be curtains for us for Gotchard, and we'll be back next week for episode 1 of Gav. It feels crazy that it's happening, but we'll be here for it, and we hope you join us back for that too. Toby, why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
On the platform known as X. That's a joke, right?
X the
No,
Everything app.
that's what it was. Thank you. On
Yeah.
X the Everything app, you can find me. It's was it that one? It's Life of Tobes, I think. Now that I'm
It
lost
is.
after my stupid
Uh-huh.
joke. On YouTube, it's Tobes Plays, and on Retro Achievements, it's also Tobes Plays.
Should have asked Grok what your username was on X the Everything app. On X the Everything app, I am Pretty Dece Josh, and you can find me on YouTube at Pretty Dece. All right, so once again, that is going to wrap us up. Come back next week. Please check us out for a discussion of episode 1 of Gav. We can't wait to talk about it. We can't wait to see it. It's going to be really exciting. And until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.